Good weekend, all. Ira Epstein with your SPDR-ETF stock market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for Friday, the 22nd of March, 2024. So the question that we all have to ask is, with all that's happened and the race now on to see which central banks will cut and when they're cutting. Today we saw Colombia cut. We had the Swiss National Bank cut. We had Mexico cut this week. We had Japan change its interest rate policy away from zero for a change. But that means you've had so many other banks getting ready. I was reading one of the governors of the European Central Bank is arguing now, and he's saying, why isn't April going to be a live month? The data is starting to turn weak. Well, I don't know that he knows that. I mean, the data has been relatively hot there, just like it's been in the United States. So you've got to get it to turn down. And I would assume most members of monetary policies committees want to see at least 2, maybe 3 months of data where it's turning down and staying down, so they can then say, okay, we're going to make a cut, maybe we pause, make sure it's staying in place before they do anything. You're already seeing that in the countries that are doing this, all right? So that's one thing to look at. You know, one of the markets that I'm enamored with is copper. And the reason is, and that's why I'm looking at Freeport, McMoran, the reason I am at this point is because, number one, it looks to me like it'll be in short supply. Number two, if everybody's cutting interest rates, and the word everybody's in quotes, but the reason that central banks are cutting is to spur their economies along. In part, that means more demand for copper when production has been cut in many areas. This chart's got higher lows, higher highs. You can see the pattern, higher low, higher high on the swing line. And the support, as I see it, is going to be back in the neighborhood of 40.23. It's not that far. From here, it's roughly 8-9% break. The market's up at resistance, the upper Bollinger Band. This market has paid attention in the past to Bollinger Bands, as you could see, uses it as a theoretical resistance point. And the theory in the band is that you will stay within the bands 95% of the time, and you're also overbought. Trend up. Market, to me, looks solid here against whatever that 18-day average turns out to be this coming week. But I do see resistance in this general area. In Microsoft, the trend has stayed up. You have the embedded reading, which tells me on pullbacks, the market still going to be bought until that red line closes under 79, and the resistance point, the upper Bollinger Band. When we look at KRE, no trend. You now have a higher high, a lower low. For weeks on end, you've been fighting at the 18-week average and going nowhere temporarily. On MCHI, the Chinese markets, well, you've had an uptrend. Now, I don't know if you're watching what's going on with the yuan, but it has been losing value at a very steep rate. Are they going to walk in and support it? They're going to let it go down. It does help their trade in a bit, if you think about it. When you take a look at the industrial sector, it really hasn't backed off since October. You had one little correction, and then a small 1-week break, and now you're back to the Bollinger Band. The market doesn't like to stay and fight that Bollinger Band very long. So yes, I can make an argument for a pullback, but not a change of trend. I think the pullbacks will get bought in this market this coming week, in fact, if you get them. I would not go chasing the energy sector over upper Bollinger Bands. It's generally not the best thing you can do. 95% of the time, the market will come back within the band, and you are in an overbought territory right now in the market. We all know the energy's in demand. We know why. Again, it's like copper. Lower interest rates spurs on demand. In the dollar, the market has come up as the dollar's winning by staying higher for longer. In addition, the strongest of the economies. We don't really have a peer out there. We are the standard. I realize people are always saying China's going to go buy the United States. In time, they might, but it isn't now. In gold, well, again, I think markets don't fight to stay over the band. They fight to get back under them. So in the gold market, I could see up here the problem that it's having. We know it's the strong dollar. We know it's interest rates higher for longer. But overall, it's still a very good-looking market, on breaks especially. And I've been telling traders I'd love to see copper pull back because I do think this is a market you take a hard look at on a much further break than this. Now, much further is maybe 70, 80 cents. Lilly, how could you not like this? I mean, it's the leader in what it does, and the market is embedded. So the chart action doesn't bother me. I watch momentum, and as long as it stays embedded, just like you had last week, break this week, and I think you get bought. I think the pros come out if the red line closes under 79, and I still think they're looking for the 831 level or so. In Uber, economy's still strong. Uber's winning. There's nothing to compete with it. Lyft is not a comparison for this market. And it's doing a great job, not only here, but wherever it's got a market. This is a big, big company. Uranium, you know, a lot of people are looking for bottoms in the uranium market. You'd have to get over, I think, 44, 47. And if that happened, I think you can then take a look at this market from the long side. But let's see if you can get up and over that. Last Meta, still the powerhouse. Embedded, I think the breaks, just like you get there under this market, end up still getting bought with the market looking for higher highs. If and when you get the reading to close under 79, that's when I would say, okay, time to be out of the market. But on the breaks still, it's a buy in my opinion until that occurs. And one of the tools I look at during the day are pivot points. I don't know if you've ever used them, but I have a free course on pivot points, video course for you to take a look at. Look at your charting software. It probably has them on it. You may not know how to use them. And when I look at them, what they do is you're looking at a chart that gives you a center line. It's called the pivot. And from there, you get points above it and points below it. The ones above it are sell numbers. So you're looking at the chart, here's your sell lines, here's your buy. But what I do is I tie my slow stochastic study to it. And it for me at least, it improves the timing. And what do I use it for? I'm not trying to day trade with it. I'm trying to get on positions that I think are at excessive moves in the market one way or the other. So if I've got buy signals and the market's breaking pretty hard, where am I going to go to that makes some sense? I tie it all together with it, and it's just another tool. You might as well take a look at it. It's free. Go to IraEpstein.com. Under free offers, or move your cursor to the top here, and you can work with it that way. I'm Ira Epstein. You have yourself a great weekend. I'll catch up with everybody on Monday. Take care.